Oof, if this actually happens. Whoa! Oh my god, the dream. Wait, Houston, I don't remember if you said you had Discord or Skype or what.
Did you send it?
No. Can you just give me a second?
Do
Hold
you
on.
want to be a business?
Yeah, why?
You gotta send it.
Okay, hold on. Fuck, I fucked up. Undo. Oh, dude. Do you want to know what the most important Google thing is?
What?
For Gmail, there's an undo plugin where after you send a message, you can undo it within 5 seconds or whatever.
Oh, Gmail has a setting for that for 30 seconds.
Oh, really?
In,
Oh,
in
it's native
settings.
now? Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, fuck, dude. It's a
I use it
lifesaver.
all the time when I send angry emails.
When you send angry emails?
Yeah.
Hello, hello?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
All right, awesome. How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Uh,
Wait, hello?
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think I need to mute this. I'm getting a bunch of feedback.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, cool.
Or just turn off the stream completely.
All right, so I turn off the stream, but I don't think I can hear you through Discord.
Wait, hello? Testing? 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep, got it.
Okay, yeah, cool. We're good then.
Awesome. I think I sent you some details for the thing via email. Any specific questions that you have?
I guess no. I guess it would just be more like general questions in terms of like how everything would be set up. Like, what are my expectations? What is like the general purpose of the event? What kind of a format would this be in?
All right, cool. So the general purpose would be to have students engage with. Well, I suppose we should start with our student population, right? So they come from poor areas of the state. Remember that I don't want to give away the exact area.
Yeah, that's fine.
As of yet, right? So they come from the poor areas of the state, and they have very little exposure to politics, journalism, philosophy, and all that stuff. And so we are a 2-year institution. And what we've been doing is a series of kind of speaker events where we have media people, journalists, politicians, and so on come and talk to students about how things work, maybe have some debates or open panels towards the end of the event.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what we would like to do, should it come through, and am I safe to assume that your main motivation is to debate the other person that I mentioned?
Yeah, I mean that would be like my
Yes.
goal. But I mean, in terms of like doing
Yes.
political stuff, whatever. Like, I mean, I'm depending on what it is. I'm cool with all of that too.
No, yeah. So it's going to be like a day-long event about politics, philosophy, and journalism.
Mm-hmm.
What we would like you to do is have basically 2 talks during the day. One could be about philosophy or whatever. The other one could be more about discourse online or streams. Engaging with other people in conversation, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you say that none of your debates are worth anything, that they have very little merit. But you'd be surprised when you get these kinds of students who are not trained in rhetoric or debating or anything like that. They think that what you do is kind of superhuman. So maybe talking about that a little bit. And so the other speaker would do likewise, as well as the other journalists. And what I'm thinking of setting up would be kind of a morning keynote and an afternoon keynote. The morning keynote would be either you or the other person. Then in the afternoon, we'll switch with a bunch of breakouts with the local journalists and pundits, leading up to the kind of debate or roundtable discussion, if you will, at the end of the day, probably from 4 to 5.
Okay.
Does that all right? So does that sound good?
Yeah, I think so. I just need a little bit more. I would just need like a little bit more information on exactly. I guess like what the expectations are and what the format is. Like, am I basically just giving like an hour-long discussion on like this is what I do online, or is this like an open forum like question and answer? Is it like 30 minutes, or what?
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So for one of them, I will leave it up to you. I'm not much on telling speakers, hey, you need to do this specifically. But for one of them, I would like for you to talk about, how you navigate through your ideas and come up with what you think is the optimal choice. So, for example, when you say that you support, I don't know, let's go with abortion practically, but not ethically. So how do you reconcile that difference between ethics and practicality, through logical thinking and so on?
Sure.
Um, and I think maybe something like 30 minutes talking about that 30-minute Q&A would be great. So the students kind of get a chance to, interact with you and ask any questions they have. Uh, full abortion, about your thought processes. Because ultimately, what I personally want my students to get out of that is for them to go beyond the kind of I feel memes, right? A lot of people go like, well, I have some beliefs and whatever, but they don't really think them through.
Yeah.
And so I think that you kind of going over how you go from this, how I feel on a certain topic, and then this, how I reason through and come up with, an optimal position, whether it agrees with your original beliefs or not. I think that they're gonna get a lot of that, right? So for one of your talks, I would appreciate if you do that, but again, you're not forced to do that. It's just kind of something that I would personally like for you to see you do. So does that work for you?
Yeah, I
For
think so.
all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah.
Awesome. And then for the other one, for the conversation with the other gentleman, um, what I would like to set up is kind of a formal debate where we don't necessarily scream at each other. By we, I mean you, him, and the other speakers.
Is this
We
is this
try.
going to be like a one-on-one kind of thing, or is it going to be like a panel kind of thing?
I'm thinking 2-on-2 if we get all the speakers that everyone wants.
Uh-huh.
So I'm thinking you and Contra if I get my way, to represent the kind of lefty-ish positions. I know that you say you're not a leftist, but you do support some of those kind of left-leaning positions, and so they are probably going to want to get the individual that I mentioned in the email, and they're talking about Tommy Lahren, but I'm not sure that the college can afford her. So
Sure.
that will really be up to whether the philosophy person actually is owed as many favors as he claims. But from what I've seen so far in our meetings, the person from the email, it's a pretty good bet that you'll be there. And so I'm thinking 2 versus 2, but topics are still open. And so I'm hoping that maybe you could give me a list of things that you'd be interested in debating. I'm a big kind of communications, discourse, and rational thought kind of person. So what I would pitch for topics have to do with, how people come to their positions and whether, for example, changing your mind on something would constitute being a sellout. So that might be one of the questions that, I would be incentivized in asking, right? So, for example, a case of, I forget her name, Candice.
Oh,
Right?
Candace Owens. Yeah.
Yeah, so like she was like really big leftist, and then like over the span of like 2 weeks, just like, well, I'm like super conservative. So, is that really selling out? Is it selling out, because you're looking out for your personal benefit? Is it really doing that if you actually believe you're in a position? So those are the kind of things that.
Honestly, I think most of it, ironically enough, is virtue signaling, but like for some reason people really don't like to say they're conservatives. They think they get more street cred if they say like, oh no, I'm actually a lefty, or I'm actually like a left-leaning person, but now I have to be right-leaning or I don't know why. A ton of fucking idiots, Ruben and everybody does this, but yeah, I understand that's like the conversation.
Yeah, and if you want, we can even debate like the idea of what does it mean to be a leftist, right? So, you mentioned Ruben. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a classical liberal. I'm on the left.
Oh no, well if it's a conversation with the other person, I consider that other person to have the capability to be intelligent. So I would want this to be a much more empirical. I would want to have like a conversation on like data or fair use of like data, because I see this person disingenuously manipulate data in horrible fucking ways that should like be an embarrassment to him. So I would want it to be like a super data driven thing.
All right, awesome. So when you say fair use of data, I'm guessing you don't mean in copyright, but rather as in ethical use of data, right?
No, well, as in like an actual like intelligent person taking some data and drawing a conclusion from it. I think that this other person is incapable of doing so, or does so in an intentionally disingenuous way. And I would want to talk about like specific data sets that they have used in the past to illustrate how I think they're very disingenuous in how they do it.
Okay, so basically, kind of how they make arguments and they use data to support those arguments.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Any topics that you want to bring up that you've seen them do this especially?
Yeah. How about on Islamic extremism? That would be a good one.
All right, cool. So Islamic data use. All right, cool.
And then I haven't checked out his stance on the NFL kneeling stuff, but I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be about as dumb. But I can do a little bit more research as this comes to fruition. I guess in terms of like what the data and everything is, when you give me more information, I can do more research to figure out like what I think would be the best thing to discuss.
All right, sounds good. Though on the NFL kneeling, what kind of data do you use? Because it seems to me that's more
This would be a
question of
philosophical argument.
audience.
It wouldn't be a data-driven argument. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's more of a question of audience. Basically, if you're already on one camp, you're going to interpret it as however you want. So,
Kind of. One thing that's interesting to me, I don't know how much time or if this like makes sense or whatever, but like one thing that interests me is that I think that from a common set of principles, people should be deriving certain consistent conclusions, but oftentimes they don't, which shows that their starting principles are actually not what they state they are.
mhm. So I think that's somewhat correct. So
So like here,
Yeah.
like as a quick example, so somebody says, I believe in freedom of speech and it's the most important thing to me. Like they start there, so then they say that like Trump should be allowed to do this and this and this and or whatever. But then as soon as they see like NFL players kneeling, they're like, oh, well, hold on, this isn't okay. It's like, okay, well, clearly then freedom of speech isn't your most important thing here, or else you would also be critical on Trump about this thing and you wouldn't be as critical about them. So something is different here, right? So I don't know if it's partisan hackery or something else, but yeah, that kind of conversation. Yeah.
I think that has to do with the warrants. You're probably not familiar with that. It's basically a rhetorical term for personal ideology and a bunch of other stuff that comes included into that, axioms, etc. And essentially, what you see is that a lot of times on the left, you get a lot of people who are driven by ideological purity, whereas on the right, it's more loyalty towards the tribe. So on the left, they actually do defend the ideas. On the right, they just defend their party while using ideas as a kind of shield.
Yeah.
So maybe that's
that can
something
be tossed and discarded at like the moment they become inconvenient. Yeah.
All right, cool. So the use of ideology as shield versus tribal loyalty. I'm shit typing today. Okay, well, cool. And then for that one, like I mentioned, I don't want it to be like that thing that happened with Andy and then the rest of them just kind
Oh
of.
no! Those are like my normal conversations. This would be like a much more formal.
Yeah. I want something that's closer to maybe IQ squared. Are you familiar with those?
Nope.
All right, so it's basically a traditional Oxford style debate where one side gets to present an argument, the other side presents their side, and then there's like a conversation. But then the moderator has the ability to kind of mute someone in case that for example, you're saying something and the other person wants to pop in and go like, oh no, well I disagree and whatever. So they'd have to actually wait for you to finish your ideas before they respond. So
sure,
that's kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah, sure. If maybe we can hash this out further in an email. Even if it means like I get half the time for a conversation like this, I would really prefer it to be one-on-one if that's possible. The only reason I say that is because oftentimes in these types of conversations, people will pivot or change topics a lot, and having two people on both sides makes it much easier for that to happen. It could work out. I mean, I guess if I know my partner like in advance, we can have a discussion on strategy beforehand, but the topics change so much, especially when I'm nailing somebody down and being disingenuous. People will change topics immediately, and if my partner engages on that topic, then the conversation is like completely hopeless. That's very frustrating to me. But if I know my partner like weeks at least ahead of time, then that can be mitigated. I can have that conversation, and I would be more okay with that, as long as I don't find out like the day of or something, right?
All right, sounds good. So would you be open to then do 3 events? One that's you and the students, another one where it's one-on-one, and then another one that's like the full panel?
Yeah, if that's possible, that would be great. But yeah, whatever works. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I'll try to get that set up with the rest of the people on the board. Any other details that you'd like to go over?
No, I mean just knowing more details, I guess, of the expectations and everything of the event. But I mean, like, these aren't like a matter of like if you tell me this, I'll accept or decline. Like, I'll do it. I just need to obviously be prepared for you. Like, am I gonna have like, am I gonna be bringing props or like a presentation or a PowerPoint or something for this, or is this just kind of like a speech or yeah, just that kind of stuff?
That's really, if you want to bring a PowerPoint or whatever, you can do that, but you don't have to. You know, I've had speakers who just talk, and those are pretty great. As long as I think your ideas are solid, which they often are, you know, it'll be all right.
Okay.
And let's see. As far as the dates, I believe that I sent you 3 possible dates. I did want to go over you so early on because I don't know what your schedule is going to look like in a year from now, but this is going to be for the academic year. That's 2019, 2020. All right,
I don't remember seeing the dates. It's possible I just saw them. I don't remember them. But I mean, as long as I'll do this no matter what. Like, this would be the thing that I would cancel other stuff for. So whatever the dates end up being, that's fine.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So in that case, I'm afraid that's all the details that I can give you as of right now. We do have a meeting that's going to be on sometime in October, and then I'll follow up with you once I hear what everyone else has to say.
Okay, cool.
All right, awesome. So thanks for having me, and I'll follow up with you.
Cool. Thank you very much. Wow. Whew, if this actually happens. Whoa! Oh my god, the dream. Oh, I should have asked him if it would be streamed. The only reason I want to do this is just so I can release a YouTube video like titled like Destiny Destroys Conservative with Facts, or like some dumb whatever Shapiro titles this shit as. That would be like, or whatever the person titles this shit as. Am I like stuck here or what the fuck? Do you get nervous speaking in front of people? I don't really think so. As long as it's a topic I know pretty well.